Hello, today we're going to applicate the stripes that we now ordered from eBay. They are very pink and fortunately for us, my wife approved of them instantly when she saw the color, because Noah and I, when we ordered them, had not had the opportunity to see the color. The only thing that we saw on it was that it was not baby pink, it was, I believe it was hot pink or something like that. So this will go well with the brake calipers later on. Noah and I have aligned or tried as best as we can, since we're not professionals. We have lined it with the top of the steering wheel. So the middle of the stripe is going to be in the middle of the steering wheel. We have added some blow tape on the bonnet, and fortunately for us, on the first step of the journey there is no complication at all, because the washer jets that usually is on the bonnet aren't on this bonnet, because they are under the bonnet. So that's fortunate for us, because otherwise we would have used a scalpel or a knife or something and cut and whatever and not. So what I've done is, together with Noah, we measured it out, and we also cut out almost the correct length of stripe. I have polished and used clay on the bonnet to get every surface contamination away, and now we're going to use some soapy water on the bonnet and on this, and see if it works, and if it doesn't, you will hear me swear a lot, I suspect. Okay, so let's go. We're going to apply this all over the car, and I suspect it will be quite boring for you to check this out the whole time, so we are probably just going to cut that to the end result. So now it's very wet, at least. The tape surface was down and the other one was up, I believe. And also, when you clean it, please remember that you have to stick the edge under the bonnet, and so it has to be clean there as well, because otherwise, if you stop the stripe here, it will flake and it will look very nasty in a very short period of time, I think. So you have to smooth it over the edge, and the same thing goes for the back of the hood. Okay, so it said you should soap the bonnet, and we have done so. Now comes this part. I hope this works. But I suspect it could end up like the kitchen appliance that you use, where you have the plastic foil and it just crumbles into itself. But I will use plenty, as you can see, soap water on it, and that will make it easier for me to correct any mistakes that I make. You heard it yourself. Freudian mistakes. Okay, so I would think something like this. Take a step back now and check the alignment. I think it was something like this we measured out, right?
Yeah, looks good.
Okay. And as you can see, if you check closely now that we have applied the plastic, you see it can blow off, but that's not good. But when the soapy solution starts to go away. As you can see now, it's very easy to move it, but as you can also see, there are lots of bubbles and things that are not so very good to have under the stripe, at least not when you're ready. So I will try to remove the air bubbles away from here. And don't worry if it takes some time, because probably you will stick the stripe on and let it stay there for the remaining time of your ownership of the car. So take your time. The better you stick it on, the better it will stay on, of course. I can see now that I should have some sort of rubber thing or something that I could squeeze it out a bit better, because it's really slippery. You know, when you have a protective film on your mobile phone glass or your iPad or something like that, it's the same principle as this one, just a much larger surface. So for those, you always wait to the next day to see the end result, and the same goes for this one. Yeah, it looks better already, at least on the top. Now I'm getting almost everything out on the top here. So as you can see, we left some of the stripe over here so we can tape it on. Okay, I will go down here. And you should take a step back and check the alignment. So it's still aligned as you wanted it. And we have used the guide tape so we can see it pretty good. I don't know if you can pick it up with the camera, but there are a lot of air bubbles and things, but it's pretty easy to remove it. So maybe I don't need a squeegee after all. But as you also can see, the whole stripe is moving even though I hold it, so it's not fixed yet. And of course it shouldn't be. Okay, see if we can get that streak off without getting it back. No. So this is going to be a tough one. How do we remove that? I don't want it here. It's gotta go. Because I took a clay bar and clayed the whole surface, there are very little bumps and stuff underneath, so it gets, actually the result looks really smooth. Okay, this is a bit worrisome. I don't think it will go away. Okay, let's take a step up here. Looks straight enough, right? No?
Not at the bottom.
Not on the bottom. Yeah, I can agree on that, because the air bubbles get under. But I think we will cut the stripe now and try to apply it on the inside of the hood and see if we can remove the bubbles. And also, if you're not finished with the result that you have right now, you can always, in this stage, always remove the stripe, spray it again with soapy water, and start over. Well, it depends, of course, how picky you are with the end result. I'm a perfectionist in some areas, and on this car, as you can see, we waxed and we clayed it, and we have done a lot of work with it. But still, my wife drives it every day, and it gets very dirty. So if the stripe is not perfectly 100% aligned, or there are 2 or 3 bubbles in it, I don't think she will mind. She will look at the colors and think it looks very good. But we will try to raise the hood now and cut the stripe and see if we can actually make it stick. This is the most interesting part, I think. And also, it said on the package for the stripe that it should be left to cure at least for 24 hours, and then an additional 48 hours after that before you wax it, to try to do anything with it. I think we should take away the tape here, because that makes air go under now. So, and also now we should, I will leave this one because this has no impact on it. So let's try to get this first. This is a, it doesn't want to stick, and I have no idea why. Okay, whatever. Let's cut. I'll leave, I will try to let it go around a centimeter from the end. Or something like that. This is going to be very interesting. Nope. I really don't know what to do now, but we will figure it out. But as you can see, I cannot get the stripe to stick here for some reason. As you can see, because we spray the soap on, it of course doesn't want to stick because of that. but it doesn't want to attach because it gets so much air under here. So maybe if I could do like this, no, it doesn't matter. So maybe just let it sit for a while and hope for the best. Maybe we should take some tape and try to make it stick. Okay. So we will try to sort this problem out, and you will have to see in the end of this video if we made it or not. So we're cutting over to that. See you in a couple of hours. So here is the follow-up story of the striping of my wife's car. We started out with the ambition to stripe a racing stripe in pink over the entire car. And as you can see, we are now finished, and we have got some tips and tricks for you to use and utilize when you do it yourself. So if you stand there, stop. First off, if you're going to do a racing stripe on the hood, then it doesn't really matter with the angles and such stuff. But if you are going to use a stripe that covers the entire car, we have found out the hard way that, as you can see, the angles are not entirely easy to get right, and you will see this when we come over to the back side of the car, because there it's even more obvious. Also, when you go over curved and angles and stuff with the vinyl like this, here is a pretty hard place to go over, and the film, as you can see, creases. We used a heat gun before we started off, because we did a wet application, as you probably can see earlier in the movie. But we used a heat gun here. No, we didn't use a heat gun, sorry. We used a hair dryer. If you use a heat gun, maybe you get better results, but this is the best that we could do. Maybe we replace it, maybe we don't. My wife says that it doesn't matter because no one noticed. The only thing that they do notice is that there is a very cool pink racing stripe over the car, and that is what she wanted. So as long as she is happy, that's cool with me. When you got these small sections here that are curved, it's actually quite easy to get it right and get it very good. As you can see, they are pretty dirty, but the hard part here is to align and get the stripe to align with the next part, and then to align with the right angle on the hood. So if you, our recommendation would be to, if you're doing a racing stripe, do it in the middle of the car. If you're doing it all over the car. If you just use the hood, then you can pretty much place it anywhere you like. Also, when we started off, we had some problems because this was the first part that we put on, and when we did the application, we used silicone squeegees, or whatever you call them, much like this. You can use kitchen utensils as well. You probably saw this on the first movie. But what we learned the day after was that we hadn't used our strength enough, because there was still some bubbles under the vinyl. And now, after almost a month after we applied this, they are pretty much all gone. So now it's very now it's pretty much perfect, as you can see by the stripe. So don't be afraid, they will disappear eventually, but you can prevent this from happening by just pretty much take them out as much as you can. If there are little bubbles left, don't worry, they will disappear after a week, 2 or 3, they will be gone. Now we will go over to check the back of the car. The roof was very easy to do because it's a rather flat surface, and because the car is pretty low, it's easy to work with. The wing, likewise. Jag får hänga på, annars funkar inte mikrofonen. The wing was pretty good as well. We had a little creasing problem here, but we managed with the help of the hairdryer to get it out. You have to be very, very careful all the time. You have to work from the middle and out or down, like we did. So here we worked out and over like this, and you have to do it on and on and on and on and on so many times. And also, as you can see under here, it's not easy to get it perfect attached. You can see we are missing on some points here, but once again, as long as the owner is happy with the results, we are happy too. Here around the lights, we didn't get the perfect cut here. We used magnets to hold the stripe, and then we pre-cut it with a razor blade or something like this. I got it in my back pocket here. You can use something like this, just a razor. We used magnets to hold it, and we were 2 people helping out, and then we just cut it as good as we could. Once again, because it's a curve, it's very hard to get it absolutely good since we are amateurs. But down here we had better success, even though it's curved. This line here is pretty straight, and this one here is pretty straight, and that makes it easier. The rear bumper here was the really the hardest part of them all. We used the hair dryer on this part here, and as you can see, I don't know if the camera can pick this up, but there's a big air bubble here. It doesn't show from the outside of the car, so it doesn't matter. But here you can see we cut it, then we had to try to force it in here, and then the trouble starts, because then it goes out like this and then it curves, and also because of the cut, and this is one part, then we really got some trouble here. Try to focus better, please. Kan du inte fokusera bättre än så?
Nej.
Jo. Om du inte gör så snabbt, jag har sagt det till dig flera gånger. So down here we got a big crease. We used the hairdryer to get the better result, and also here it curves here. So the end of the story is. So the end of the story is that if you want to stripe your car, do so. We had no knowledge on how to do it before we did it. We did a wet application, which you sprayed on, and you saw this earlier in the movie. There are also air with dry application, and you push the air bubbles out. That's another method, which demands high cleaning capabilities of the paintwork before you go. With the wet application, we just waxed it, sprayed it on, and started there. And we got a result that we are happy with, and more importantly, my wife. So what I can say to you is, go for it, try it, and hopefully you will be successful. And if you do stripe the whole car, try to figure out how the angles will be before. And we will show you back here what we mean, because here comes one line from the roof, and because of the curvature of the car, it sort of doesn't align in some angles, and in some angles it does align. So it's your eye that misleads you. So it doesn't matter how straight you put it on, it will still be angled or curved or in the wrong position for your eye if you stand in one position and right for another. So with those words, good luck, and hope you make it. Over and out.